Dog, it's cold outside.
It has been like -4 degrees for the past 4 days. We're not used to this, and so we've been like held up inside for like the entire fucking weekend. And I think it has turned us into a little bit of like psychopaths.
Like little gremlins. There hasn't even been a ton of snow, so it's not even like, oh yay, snow. It's just fucking cold.
Anyways, we've been like held up inside, and I think we're going like a little stir crazy. I know a lot of weather all over the country is really fucking shit right now, so maybe other people are feeling this way too. But like, I literally screamed into a pillow this morning because I just felt like I needed to get outside so badly. But when you go outside, you're like, no, fuck this. It hurts to breathe. My lungs fucking hurt. I need to go back inside. But then you're inside and you're like, well,
what do I do?
I don't want to fucking watch TV anymore. Or like, I don't know. Just, I don't know.
Not a great thing all around.
Yeah.
But you know what is great? That we're here together today, Lauren.
We almost died getting here, but we did it.
Yeah. Driving here was a little bit sus. A car started spinning right next to me. But
they were just being a fucking idiot. Like, they were driving their, like, cool little Audi sports car, and they were like, I'm gonna go fast, and, like, weave through fucking lanes. So, of course, they didn't have enough traction, hit the side of the fucking freeway, and spun out. And I'm like,
started spinning.
If you're gonna drive like a fucking jackass when you know the roads are icy and snowy, that's a little bit of karma.
Yeah.
Like, just drive slow. Take your time. Bless you.
Excuse me. That was like probably the first time in my life where I actually had a survival instinct that helped me.
You're like, go faster.
Well, instead of freezing, yeah, I actually just went faster. And I bet we probably missed them by like a foot. I don't know. Everything was moving in slow motion, but I fucking sped up and I just watched them doing fucking ballerina swirls in their Audi all over the freeway behind me, and we were in the clear.
Like, I really hope that everyone was okay.
I think they were, but still.
But it's just like,
don't drive like a fucking asshole.
Don't drive like a fucking idiot when you know the roads are bad. Like, that's just so unnecessary. Yeah. You're putting yourself in danger and everyone else around you, and it's not fucking cool. Okay?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Rant over.
Thank you for listening to our TED Talk. Be better drivers. Welcome back to What They Don't Say. Okay, so today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be, you know, when you think we're going to zig, we're going to zag. But we are going to be talking about some personal stories, some personal trial stories, and we're even going to be doing some role playing too, which would be very
Lauren is going to be a nurse, and I am just kidding.
That's gross.
Okay. That would be incest.
It's going to be interesting, but ultimately talking about how to deal with friends that don't do what you think they're going to do.
Specifically when it comes to sexual assault and the court process. We're going to be sharing 2 different scenarios that we both experienced through this court process with friends. And basically, they also zagged when we thought they were going to zig.
Crazy.
With that, we're going to share one person's testimony, and then we're going to kind of talk about it. Dissect the testimony a little bit, dissect each of these situations that happened to us, and just kind of like try to understand why people act this way, why friends you thought would support you don't support you or act a little bit weird during this process, and kind of try to relate it to you guys on a broader scale. So we're just going to dive right in.
Okay, so lately something has been weighing on me and Shannon's minds, and this kind of was struck by the fact that we started reading through our big ass fucking court documents. Mm-hmm. Like, they're like this thick.
About like 3 inches thick.
3 inches thick, and there's like 7 of them. And obviously you can't read through all of them. I mean, maybe eventually, but there's a lot of fucking information.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally just stuff. Like the like play-by-play of the court process. And we found a testimony that we hadn't previously found, that we hadn't looked at, talked about, read, whatever. And it was from someone that we were friends with at the time, and at the time that both of us were assaulted. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of interesting things in there, kind of just honestly like fucked shit. Like, it wasn't cool. And we kind of got pissed off, and we're like, you know what? Let's do an episode on this. Some people just, they're not real ones.
Yeah. And by not real ones, we mean they might disrespect you in the court process. They might not believe you after you tell them your story. They might do really unexpected things. Just like you thought they would stand by you. Maybe they don't stand by you through this process. You know, certain things like that. And trial and going through the court process and just honestly being sexually assaulted in general is one of those things where it makes people feel uncomfortable and it makes them do things that they might not normally do. And I'm talking about other people, not the person who's been assaulted.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're always such big encouragers of you should tell your friends, you should tell the people, you should try to build a support group because this stuff is really heavy. But sometimes that support group or those people that you thought would be a part of your support group aren't actually going to be your biggest supporters and your biggest cheerleaders through this dark time.
During shit like this, I feel like it just gets so wackadoodle-doo. Like, you don't even know what the fuck's going on. And I know for me, I like spent so much time trying to hide all this from my friends.
Like the trial process.
Yeah, like the trial process, all of it. Like, I actively was living a double life. Like, I would disappear.
You're Hannah Montana.
Yes.
But not the fun, not in the fun way.
Not the fun way. But I would like disappear for a weekend or a week, whatever, to go deal with some trial bullshit. And my friends, like, I wouldn't tell them anything. I would come back and they would be just like, hey, where the fuck did you go? Where have you been?
Colorado?
What are you doing? And then I'm just like, oh, like, I just had some stuff to take care of. And they're like, what the fuck? Some of my friends thought that I was actually a, like, secret agent. They're like, are you like, yeah, but like, not for reals, but they were like, are you like a fucking, like, CIA? Like, who are you? Why do you keep disappearing and you can't tell anyone why? And I'm like, it's just like, I just can't. Like, I was just so scared of telling people that, like, I know cared about me and supported me because I just didn't want to make them feel weird. I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable, and I just wanted them to, like, live their life and, you know, think that my life was totally normal and there's something whack as fuck going on in it. And I feel like it's easier that way. But time runs out and you can't always just keep that hidden from everyone. And when you do, yeah, some people, maybe they just aren't gonna pat you on the back and say, hey, we got this, it's okay. And
other people might leave.
Yeah. There's a high frequency of people who don't support sexual assault survivors or victims. Although we don't think about it as much, it can happen within your own friend group, within your own family, things like that. And it can feel really shit to, you know, go tell someone and build up the confidence and courage to tell someone, hey, I was sexually assaulted. And then for them to be like, are you sure? Well, what were you doing? What were you wearing? Were you drinking? Like,
asking for details instead of
just being supportive.
Right.
And they try to, like, pry it open and ask all these, like, fucked questions. And you're just sitting there and you're like, wait, I just built up the courage to tell you something that is super traumatizing and is hurting me so much. And now you're sitting here trying to investigate if it's true or not. Like,
yeah, you're trying to figure out what happened instead of just caring about what did happen. Like, caring about the person who went through it.
Yeah. And then you hear all these stories too, or you read these stories, and I've read a lot of stories where it's just, you know, a girl will get raped by maybe like a guy friend of a group of girls. And they go and tell those girls, hey, so-and-so raped me. And then those girls kind of take a step back and they're like, why would you say that? What's wrong with you? Why would you accuse him of something like that? He's such a great person. He's such a great friend. What's wrong with you?
Right.
You know?
And that's more like discussing people just straight up not believing you. But throughout the court process, there can be sort of strange ways that people aren't supporting you, even though they're your friends. Like, they could be saying, hey, I support you. I want to be there for you. But maybe they, like, aren't checking in with you the week of trial. Maybe they are somebody who's testifying and what they're saying isn't matching, you know, their place in your life as a friend or things like that.
Yeah. Or the reality of the story you lived and they lived and they were a part of as well. And I think it can be really, really tricky. And when you're put into a high pressure, high traumatic situation like this, there could be a lot of things that factor into how you view things, what you think is true, your concept of things. And I mean, I can't speak on behalf of anyone else, right? And I think it's really hard. So maybe sometimes people feel personally attacked, right? When you say, hey, so-and-so raped me, they're like, well, he's my friend too. I also trusted him. Do I have bad judgment? Is there something wrong with me? Then you feel personally attacked. You know, it could be something like that. It can be easier not to believe people.
It's true. When somebody tells you that, like, your friend assaulted them or something like that, or someone you know who you consider to be a nice person and quote unquote good person in your life, and you hear that they assaulted someone, it makes you start to question your character judgment, right? Like, what's your character radar? A lot of people feel like, oh, I'm such a good judge of character. I know exactly who people are. And I'm not interested in being friends with people who have bad character. But hearing and learning this information about someone that you know makes you start to question whether you're surrounding yourself with the right people. And yeah, holy shit, isn't it so much easier to say, yeah, I don't really believe you, instead of saying, I don't want this person to be in my life anymore. I'm so sorry you went through this. I'm so sorry they did that to you. Let me remove them from my life.
Yeah. Okay, so first things first, we wanted to kind of give a play-by-play of what happened at court, what happened with this friend in particular, and then kind of take some time to dissect it, because it is very interesting, and I think we have a lot to say on this, and I think it'll be entertaining.
So we have two particular scenarios that we're going to talk about regarding some friends that acted a little bit different than we had anticipated throughout the court process, and for this one person during the court process. So this first story is, I think, a really prime example of someone who may be in your life, maybe while you're going through the court process or through a Title IX process or anything like that, and you expect them to be there 100%, as you've kind of designated them as a part of your like support team through this. So for me, I had someone that we are going to call Stella. That's not their real name at all, but I had someone named Stella who actually was one of the people who picked me up to go to the hospital the night that I was assaulted. And this was someone who I thought would really be in my corner for the whole court process. And I'm not saying, like, I'm not here to slander them in any way, shape, or form. This is purely just for informative purposes, we might say. Okay, so here's the situation. Stella was someone that was really there for me. She was one of the people who took me to the hospital after I was assaulted. And this was somebody who I thought was really going to be in my corner, like someone who I expected to be able to lean on as like the first few days after being sexually assaulted. They were really there for me. I stayed at their house. Like they were really there for me. Now, something that happens in the court process that might be something that you haven't thought of is every person that you, at least in our case, every person that I told about the assault needed to go in for questioning with the investigators. And I had told a lot of people after it happened, because at that time in my life, I was really close with like 8 people. Like I'm talking like really close core group of friends. We spent almost every day together because of ice skating and all this stuff. And so this person, Stella, was in that friend group. And basically the investigators were going down the line of who to bring in to court next. And they would contact them, one of my friends, bring them in, like try to coordinate a date to get them to come into the OSI office, give a written statement or give a verbal statement. And then there might be follow-up questions. There might be follow-up, needs of screenshots, pictures, whatever. And then a lot of those people become just a part of hearsay. Well, Shannon said that this happened to her. That's hearsay. You can't use that in a case. It's not really relevant. It's also just like, you just can't use hearsay. So this particular person, from the investigator's standpoint, they felt like Stella was an important part of the investigation because they saw me right after I was assaulted. They were the first person that I saw. And so they felt that it was really important that this person testified, that Stella was there, to give a statement of, Shannon was fucked up when I saw her. She was not okay. She had clearly been through some form of trauma. And with this court process, we've talked about this before, it's really hard to know what's actually happening behind the scenes, because a lot of times you're not hearing from your attorney. You don't know what's going on. You might ask a question and not get a response or a clear answer on what's actually happening for several weeks. The process feels really slow as a whole. And I kind of made this assumption, whether it's true or not, I made this assumption that if it was taking me, who we were the stars of the case, you, me, and the other people, like the other victims, like we were probably the most important people in the case, right? Mm-hmm. Like we should be first priority. And if we weren't even hearing information about what was going on, I was worried that they weren't doing their job to contact all of my friends who would potentially testify.
Right.
So I had asked Stella, hey, have any of the investigators reached out to you? And this is about almost 2 years into the court process. The court date had already been pushed multiple times. So I had asked Stella, did anyone reach out to you? Have you even talked to an investigator? Like, I know you're supposed to be an important part of this case, but like, you know, we don't even have a date for court yet. If they haven't talked to you, then that concerns me and makes me think that we're never going to get a fucking date for court.
Yeah.
She said, yeah, you know, I talked to an investigator a few weeks ago. I talked for 30 minutes and that was essentially it. Well, come to find out, she had been subpoenaed and her family hired an attorney for her so that she didn't have to testify.
And she like just completely didn't tell you
She
that.
didn't tell me that. And I didn't find this out till after the fact. And I want to make a few things clear. One, she was traveling, doing some things for sport stuff. And there was an almost slight conflict of schedule for when she was traveling and when I had court. And from my understanding, her traveling, the important things that she was doing out of the country ended about 2 days prior to court. So she could have made it back. She could have testified. But instead, her family chose to hire an attorney, get the subpoena dismissed so that she wouldn't have to testify.
Right. And this is probably really frustrating, especially because she was like a very fucking key witness. You know, like she saw you right after it happened. She saw the state of mind you're in, what you need to do. She took you to the hospital, like all those things. And that's so vital to putting the pieces together on a fucking court case.
Right.
And it's totally fair to have like a lot going on. You're traveling, you're doing something at a really high level, but I would argue this is more important. And if it's not a schedule conflict, then why don't you just get your ass back and testify?
And I think the bigger issue or harder time that I had with all of this was I can't speak for her, but what I would assume is, you know, we weren't really as close during this time. Granted, I wasn't living in the same city as her anymore, like right before court happened, but she wasn't really reaching out to me via text. She wasn't reaching out to me like on the cell phone or anything like that. And I didn't even hear from her during the week of court. I was really concerned that she wasn't going to be there to testify this stuff. Like, even if she couldn't be there in person, I felt like, well, she could be there on the phone or on Zoom or something.
Like there was a way to make it happen.
Yeah, there was a way. And she did end up texting me like at the end of court saying, hey, I'm so sorry I couldn't find the words for this, but I love you. Like, I'm sorry I wasn't there to support you, which I'm like, great, thank you so much. But at the same time, I think she probably felt really guilty for not being there at court. And because she felt guilty, it made her not reach out, not check in with me. And this just goes to show that, you know, people act fucking weird in these scenarios. A lot of people feel like they are the ones in trouble if they're subpoenaed.
Right.
But it's not about you. I totally understand. People have lives outside of the court case. And for you and I, it kind of felt like it was our life.
Yeah.
But if you're subpoenaed and if you're subpoenaed and you can't go, that's fine. Like, hire a lawyer, get it dismissed, whatever. But be there to support your friend. Be there to support that family member. Because this is bigger than you.
Understand that this isn't about you. This is to help your friend. And if you can find a way to make it work, there's no fucking reason why you shouldn't make it work.
Also, it's kind of the law, which is why you can't just say, oh, sorry, I don't want to be there if you're subpoenaed. Like, it's a hard thing to get dismissed from my understanding. But I'm also not a lawyer, so I don't know.
Do you think that her parents were the ones that were like pushing for that to happen? Pushing for the subpoenas to get dismissed?
Potentially. I mean, like I was saying, this was a really important time for her with, you know, her sport. She was competing for a different country at this time. Like, she was really, like, her sport career was kind of like taking off at this time. And so something like this could have been considered a distraction and, you know, super valid. Yeah, it's a distraction, but also we're talking about like justice here. We're not talking about like a birthday party.
Yeah, I was about to say. And also, this court case and this happening to you was one of the reasons why you lost all of that sports stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that was like, you went through this and you experienced this, and that was kind of just the final straw, and it made you leave the sport. And it's like, you lost that forever. Give this up, make a fucking sacrifice for your friend, and like, fly home a day early.
Yeah, it's hard. Like I was saying, I really don't want to slander this person. Like, truly, I love them. They have sensed this whole thing. They've apologized. We've had a long conversation about it. But it's still hard. Like, it's still hard to sit there and know that this person secretly hired an attorney. Like, I didn't know about it until after the fact. to get this dismissed, never said, hey, I want to let you know this is what's happening. I'm so fucking sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be there. Like it felt like this weird secret that was hidden from me. And I don't hate them or anything like that. It's just, there are times in life where you need to buckle the fuck down and be there for someone. And this was one of those times where I think they really messed up.
Yeah.
Like from just a character standpoint.
Yeah. And I think it's just one of those lessons of sometimes being there for your friends can be really hard. And it can be really challenging and it can suck. But you have to remember that it's just not fucking about you. And you need to get over it.
And these things, like being there for someone, takes away from your own agenda in life, right? But that's what being friends is all about. Yeah, it's about having fun and creating good memories together, but it's also about getting into the quicksand. It's also about getting into the quicksand when shit is really real for the other person. And that's where you start to learn where your true friends are. Maybe you're in this scenario and you have someone that you were really close with and they do something that makes you think, okay, they don't have my back the way I thought they did.
Yeah.
And that's okay because it's important to learn that.
Colors.
And that's why I love you. That song's actually not about.
It's not. It's a really good song. But you do, I think, see people's true colors when you go through things like this. And, you know, I had my own experiences where, like, I experienced people be really shitty and be supportive for a little bit and then just drop that support after they realized, oh, this is a long-term thing.
Yeah. I'm not only going to have to work hard to be your friend and support you for a few months. It might be a few years.
Yeah. It is. You're in it for the long haul.
Okay. So for this next story, there's a few things that you should know before we kind of dive into everything about it. The first thing is that there was a third victim who we're going to call victim number 3, who was my friend. You knew her. And at the time, she was underage. She was 15. And legally, she was considered a child. So we are going to call her victim number 3. And what's important to note here is that victim number 3 told people that Tyler is the person who assaulted us. We're calling him Tyler. His name's not actually Tyler. Victim number 3 told people that Tyler had kissed her. So people knew about this. And
how old was Tyler at this time?
Tyler was at least 23, if not 24.
So he is like 23, 24, and she's 15.
Yes.
That in itself is just disgusting.
Yeah, it's disgusting. But so we're not going to share too much of her story. But the point here is that people knew that Tyler had kissed her. And this next key player that is coming in, we are going to call her Bailey. Once again, Bailey is not her real name. Bailey was someone who was really close with both of us, who we're going to get into in a second. And she was also the person who brought Tyler into our lives. So we have Bailey, the person who brought Tyler into our lives, who we were also close with. We have victim number 3, who was underage when Tyler kissed her at the time. So those were the key players. Now we're each going to kind of dive into like our relationship with Bailey. So Lauren, tell me about your relationship with Bailey as a person.
Well, I think that we met the first day we met Tyler.
Oh, okay.
And she had introduced us to Tyler and to Tyler's friend who she was like dating at the time. Brought them to church, whatever. I think that was the first time I met her. But then because I was spending time in Springs, I was spending time with you and you were really close with her. We just all became really close friends. And like she would even like come to my school and we would hang out. We would talk all the time. We were really close. Like, I really trusted her and we had a great time together. She was awesome, at least I thought.
Yeah.
But we genuinely spent a shit ton of time together and we were really close. And for a while, I mean, it had to have been, we were really close, I'd say, for like a year.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just
fizzled out.
Moved away. Because I moved away.
Yeah.
The reason our friendship ended, there was no bad blood. It was just, I didn't live here. And so it was just hard. And you don't see someone or talk to someone as much. It just kind of fizzles out.
Yeah.
So there was like nothing dramatic. I didn't really think much of it.
My relationship with Bailey was that we were friends through ice skating. And she became really close with my family. Like I had mentioned in a previous episode when we were talking about our own stories. People who ice skated in Colorado, like they didn't move there with their family. So a lot of them, I felt like were kind of looking for a sense of community, looking for a family to be a part of. And my parents did move to Colorado Springs. And so she came with us to church almost every Sunday. I wouldn't say my mom was like another mom to her by any means, but she definitely confided in my mom a lot. Like when she was having relationship problems, I remember there was this one time where she like came over and she was crying. My mom was giving her hugs. Like my mom really cared about Bailey. I also cared about her. We weren't as close, but like we saw each other a lot at the skating rink. We saw each other a lot because she came over for dinners and for church, and she came to brunch and things like that. But essentially what happened was sort of like in the middle of this court process, she just like ghosted my family. So she went from like going to church with us almost every Sunday to went from like my mom giving her Christmas gifts. And like my mom's really into like giving little thought gifts all the time. Like anyone who is close to my family, anyone who's my friend knows that she will probably send you a candle and a gift card at least twice a year, potentially a small little gnome. She's really into those. But the point is like, it was weird because she was close with us. My mom cared about her immensely. My mom was having coffee with her like once a month, and then she just ghosted my whole family. And that was kind of weird, but at the same time, it was just one of those things of we don't know what happened. We were a little bit upset about it, but it was nothing like there wasn't actual bad blood. I just thought it was unfair of her to stop talking to my mom when like my mom had cared so much about her and poured into her a fair amount, I would say.
So it's just like kind of strange that she would just drop us off the face of the earth.
Yeah. And Bailey was really close with victim number 3 at one point in time. They sort of had a falling out a while back, but you know, they still saw each other around the ice rink. They still had to interact occasionally, but there was a point in time where victim number 3 and Bailey were really close. And by the time trial rolled around, they weren't close anymore. They weren't friends, nothing like that. Like I'd mentioned earlier, Bailey was aware that Tyler had kissed victim number 3. And she felt that I had told her, I was like, Bailey, you should know this. This happened. I don't really know how to feel about it. I think I felt a little bit weird. I don't remember, but I just remember saying like, I need to tell Bailey this. I told Bailey, and Bailey took it upon herself to, you know, call Tyler, text Tyler and say, hey, I think we should have a conversation. And we are going to kind of role play.
So fun.
Role play Bailey being direct/cross-examined. So her testimony with the, what am I fucking saying? Can you speak the English for me? What are we about to do? Lauren?
Okay, we are about to role play Bailey's testimony in order to kind of give more context, talk about how we kind of feel betrayed by what she said, how she said things, how she kind of just like went against people who really cared for her and gave her a lot of support and love. And it just felt really weird because we didn't know this. We didn't see her testify.
Right.
We didn't understand what was going on. We didn't understand why she just kind of fell off the face of the earth. And maybe this has to do with why we're not here to place any sort of blame on anyone. It's more of just a relatable thing for people. And I know a lot of people go through this where they just feel a little bit betrayed by some of the people that they thought were their friends in situations like this, and kind of just hope to create a sense of like, you know, you're not alone, you're not isolated, you have a community, you have people who have felt these ways too. But it is really fucking strange. And I think that we also want to talk through this because we don't understand it. And maybe we're trying to understand it and trying to understand her point of view more.
Right.
But it's challenging.
Yeah. It's confusing when like I had said, she had ghosted my family. She wasn't friends with you by the time court rolled around. But still, when like, I thought that Bailey was still like in our corner, I would say. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I felt like she would lie or not tell the truth or anything like that on the stand. But it was someone who I thought wouldn't do anything to hurt our case. And I think her testimony potentially did in a way. I don't know that for a fact, but I think that her responses in her testimony shed some light on some interesting things that feel confusing to us.
And there's a lot of things that could have been said very differently. And she just left out so many pieces of information and pieces of context that are so vitally important that she didn't need to leave out. Yeah. It just felt very odd.
We're not going to read the entire testimony because it's really long. There's a lot of like legal things and like objections, but everything we're not leaving things out to mislead, like give you misinformation. We're just leaving them out strictly because they're boring and they might be very confusing.
There's a lot of like legal questions that have to be asked that are just
you don't need to hear
not
that.
relevant. Yeah, to the story.
We won't put you through that misery. I am going to be the trial counsel, which will switch to cross-examination in a second. So that would be the defense attorney. But I'm going to be aka the attorney, and Lauren is going to be Bailey. Miss Bailey, was there a time when you became aware that Cadet Tyler had kissed victim number 3?
Yes.
About when did you become aware of that?
A day or so after. I want to say a day after it happened.
Do you remember what month that was?
The 1st of January?
Would that be in January 2019?
Yes.
What was your reaction? What did you do after you found out that Cadet Tyler had kissed victim number 3?
Okay, so backstory. 24-year-old kissing a 15-year-old. That's what we're talking about right now. Okay.
Yes.
I decided to reach out to him and kind of wanted to hear his side of what happened.
So you made a decision to reach out to him. Did you reach out to him?
I did.
How did you reach out to Cadet Tyler?
Text.
When you texted Cadet Tyler, what did you tell him?
That I would like to talk with him in person.
Did he agree?
Yes.
So he agreed to meet you in person. Did you meet somewhere?
Yes.
Where did you meet him?
Right outside the gates of USAFA, the north gate in the parking lot.
And USAFA is Air Force Academy.
Correct.
Sorry, that's just kind of funny to me considering like we were having a court martial at the Air Force Academy, but anyways. And you said the Northgate parking lot.
Correct.
Did you each drive there separately?
Yes.
So when you got to the Northgate parking lot, was Cadet Tyler already sitting there?
I think he was a few minutes late. I think I got there first.
Okay. Did you see him pull up?
Yeah.
After Cadet Tyler pulled up, what happened next?
Got into his car and we talked it out.
Okay. What did you tell Cadet Tyler relating to the kiss that you found out about?
Okay, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. She goes, I told him that he should be careful with these people. And yeah, I just told him he should be careful.
Careful with these people. This is, we're breaking the role play for a moment. By these people, she is referring to my family, my parents, as well as probably victim number 3, I'm assuming.
Yes, who have been really great to her, great friends to her, have done nothing wrong to her.
Yes. Okay, back to role play. When you say you told him to be careful with these people, did you say the words, these people, or did you use any specific words?
Yeah, I said these people.
Did you say anything to Cadet Tyler about the types or age of girls that he should be with?
No, not the exact age that he should be with.
Sure. And I'm not asking you if you told him a specific number, but I'm asking you, did you say anything to him about age at all?
I can't exactly recall exact words that I said because it was almost 2 years ago, but I advised him to hang out with people that were closer to his age.
You told him he needs to hang out with people closer to his age?
Mm-hmm.
After you told Cadet Tyler that, how did he respond?
Well, I also told him to stay away from Shannon's family.
Why did you tell Cadet Tyler to stay away from Shannon's family?
More because I wasn't as close with them anymore.
How did Cadet Tyler respond after you told him that he needed to spend time with people his own age and to stay away from Shannon's family?
We seemed to be on the same page before I left. I wouldn't have left if we weren't.
Did Cadet Tyler agree to do or not to do anything at the end of the conversation?
What do you mean by agree?
Did he tell you that there was anything that he would do or anything that he would not do after your conversation?
Yeah, not to go around the family anymore. Shannon's family.
Cadet Tyler told you he wouldn't go around Shannon's family anymore?
I don't know. I can't say in exact words what he said.
So we're going to take another pause for a second. Right now, Bailey is saying that she told Tyler to stay away from my family because she herself wasn't as close with my family anymore and because she said that he needed to hang out with people his own age.
So maybe that could have been a good thing. Maybe she could have been like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You kissed victim number 3 who is 15. What are you doing? Go hang out with people your own age. And by the way, maybe you should like stay away from his family because maybe like you're bad news. But
Me? I'm bad news.
No. Oh. Tyler is bad news. But
it makes me think that she felt like Tyler was bad news.
maybe.
In my head, if I were to tell someone to stay away from a family that had taken good care of me, if I'm telling that person to stay away, it makes me think that I don't think this person deserves to be with this family, or I don't think that this person has good intentions with this family.
Okay, let's keep going.
And I'm not asking you to tell me the exact word for word, but I am asking you what he did tell you he was going to not do.
Wow, this lawyer needs to learn how to speak better.
That was really well, this is our attorney, I'm pretty sure, so be nice.
Whatever. I can't recall exactly what words he said, but I left with the impression that we were on the same page, so I took that as he would not go around the family anymore.
And that was based on what he said to you?
That was the impression that he gave me.
The impression that he gave you, Miss Bailey, was that based on the words that he said to you in the car.
Yes.
During this conversation, did you tell Cadet Tyler that victim number 3 was 15 years old?
No.
During this conversation, did Cadet Tyler say, I don't know how old victim number 3 was?
No, it never came up.
Did he say anything to indicate his previous knowledge that he didn't have previous knowledge of victim number 3's age? Counsel, I'm going to ask you to rephrase that question. Not sure I'm tracking.
Not sure anyone's tracking.
The witness might have been, but I wasn't. That's just a little extra commentary from the judge. In this conversation with Cadet Tyler, did he say anything to you about not knowing how old victim number 3 was?
No.
I have no further questions for you at this time.
Bow, bow, bow. Okay. So
What the fuck happened here?
basically, there was no discussion about how old victim number 3 was. Okay. Whatever.
Okay, so we skipped ahead of some other legal mumbo-jumbo situation stuff. Back to role-playing. Did you ever feel pressure from Shannon's parents to make a statement in this case?
Yeah.
In what way did you feel pressure from Shannon's parents to make a statement?
At that time, when all this was coming out, they wanted to have me over a lot for dinner. They wanted to take me out, buy me a lot of presents. So once again, pause. That was a very normal thing for Shannon's mom to be doing during this time. And it was a very normal thing that she did with Bailey and for Bailey. So it wasn't like a weird thing that she was like taking her out or like getting her like those like little noonie gifts. Like it was a super normal thing, but Bailey kind of took it out of context and made it seem like
My parents were bribing her.
during this time of trial only.
Yeah, which if you, like I was saying, painting it in this light is really interesting because, you know, we all have a lot of flaws. My mom has flaws. My stepdad has flaws. But something that my mom loves to do for people is give small gifts. Like, you can say, hey, I don't want to receive any of these gifts anymore. And she will still send them because she's like, I love you. I saw this thing. I think you should see it. Like, she is just so giving when it comes, like, that's like part of her love language is taking people out to eat and giving them little knickknacks and things like that. So this is not in any way, shape, or form my mom bribing Bailey to testify. Like,
And Bailey knew that too. Like, she knew that those were normal things that happened within their relationship, and she just completely made it seem like something evil.
Mm-hmm. By responding to defense's question of, did you ever feel pressure from Shannon's parents to make a statement in this case? She might have felt pressure. Okay, let's say she felt pressure. That's fine. But by saying that, so she says, okay, I'm getting riled up. By responding with yeah to, did you feel pressure from Shannon's parents to make a statement in this case? Okay, fine. You might feel pressure in general just from being fucking subpoenaed, right? Like, you might just feel pressure. It might not be directly coming from the parents. Like, maybe you indirectly feel pressure from them. But then don't worry, she doubled down on it because by clarifying that she was, you know, being taken out to dinner a lot and being bought lots of presents, she is insinuating to the jury that she is being bribed, which is incredibly unfair. And that could completely destroy my mom's credibility, even my credibility.
Yeah.
And this might be fucked to say, but I think with any person with a level head on their shoulders, that's really fucked up to testify like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
you know that it's making
it
it sound
comes
bad.
off. It sounds bad.
Yeah.
And it's really devastating and frustrating to know that this was someone that we cared about, and she chose to say it like that.
I know. It like honestly feels like she was like paid off by the other side to say these things because it just doesn't make any fucking sense.
Back to role playing, you had stopped in the middle of the response from Bailey.
Shannon's mom would talk a lot about it and ask for my opinions and stuff like that. And then around springtime, summertime, I got a lot of messages saying that I need to talk to their lawyers and why am I ignoring them and all of that.
What kind of presents did they buy you?
Like candles, basically little Christmas gifts like candles, notebooks, little signs, quote, block signs, books.
A little bit more information with all of this. Like I had mentioned, like my first friend, Stella, you know, I had asked her if she had contacted the attorneys at all. So, you know, I was really antsy during this case. I think you were antsy. Like, I was texting Lauren all the time. Like, have you heard anything? Like, this is what I heard. I feel really lost. Like I was saying earlier, and to really reiterate this point, is you feel really kept in the dark through the court process. So it was not an abnormal thing to ask friends, hey, did you hear anything? Have you talked to to the attorneys at all. And I wasn't ever asking to try to like find information so that I could like act a certain way in court or anything. Like my intentions were never malicious. It was literally just because I was so frustrated by how often court was getting delayed. The whole process felt like it was always taking longer because people weren't responding to investigators. If my mom did ask Bailey to respond to messages from our attorneys, for one, we weren't paying our attorneys at all. They were given to us through the Air Force Academy. And two, my mom was probably asking not to just try to get in information, but just to say, hey, if you're getting messages from attorneys, you should fucking respond to them because it's delaying this case for my daughter and it's really frustrating. Yeah. There was no malintent there. So back to role playing.
Because this is an example of her just completely backstabbing victim number 3.
Victim number 3, would you agree, held herself out to the public and her friends as being older?
Yes.
She did not advertise her age?
Correct.
She would often wear a lot of makeup to make herself appear older?
Yes.
And she mostly only socialized in friend groups with older individuals?
Yes.
I think this is the clearest representation of her giving responses with zero context, and her responses make victim number 3 look really fucking bad.
Yeah. I mean, even if victim number 3 was trying to make herself look older, who cares? That doesn't matter. She's still 15. But the fact that Bailey knew and was close with victim number 3
at one point in time,
and knew that she liked to wear makeup because she liked to wear makeup, not to make herself fucking look older. And she could have been like, she wore makeup, but not to make herself look older, but instead gave a response that was just completely with no context and just like made her sound bad.
Yeah. You know, saying she wore makeup to make herself appear older. Yeah, maybe she did want to fucking look older, like you were saying. But at the end of the day, Bailey knew that victim number 3 was underage. I believe that Bailey talked to Tyler and said, hey, you need to hang out with people your own age because she was very aware of victim number 3's age. She knew she was 15. Now, do I believe that she told Tyler, dog, you shouldn't be fucking kissing a 15-year-old when you're 23 or 24? I have a feeling she said the number 15, but any users?
Yeah. But then also trying to like say like, oh, she only socialized in friend groups with older individuals. In that community, there wasn't much of a choice.
So like, you know, when you're in school, high school, college is a little bit different, but mainly like middle school and high school, people usually hang out with people in their grade because everything is separated by age, right? But with skating, you would have like a group of people that would be between 17 and 22 that would hang out. A group of people between 12 and 14 that would hang out because there wasn't any like separation of age, because you could have a 12-year-old be on sessions with 22-year-olds because like that's just, it was only separated by level, like skill level, not age. So it was not abnormal to have a 15-year-old hanging out with a group of older individuals. So to say, to ask the question of she mostly only socialized in friend groups with older individuals, and for Bailey's response to be yes, not say, yes, however, that's incredibly common in skating. Like not giving that context is the problem that I have here.
And Bailey was in that community, so she was like well aware of all this happening, all this going on, and she just kind of completely undermines victim number 3's like credibility. I mean, at the end of the day, like I don't know. Like,
you know, victim number 3 and Bailey didn't have the cleanest friend break, I would say. But it still feels very unfair and very selfish to not give that context in your testimony. And, you know, to play devil's advocate, maybe attorneys had prepped her before and said, don't give any context, just let us do the work. Maybe she was feeling nervous. Maybe she really felt that this was all a lie and she didn't believe any of us. Maybe. But I still will stand by. Maybe this is the hill that I die on. That it's really unfair to paint victim number 3 in a light like this. It's really unfair to paint my parents in a light of bribery in this scenario, because this is someone's fucking life. Like, this is not a video game. And to go up there and say things like that.
Yeah. The last page that we have here, there's really only one question that needs to be asked, because this solidifies our fears and what we were thinking and feeling.
In this next part of our role play, they're the attorneys are essentially asking her like about the goal of her meeting up with Cadet Tyler. Like, why did you feel the need to go and talk to him? Mm-hmm. Okay. Resume character. Did you advise him to not hang out with Shannon's family anymore to protect him?
I would say so.
In what way do you believe that he needed protection from Shannon's family?
More in the sense of I knew that the thing with Lauren ended, so I didn't really see a need for him to hang around. I know that might sound controlling, but I felt like since I introduced him to the family, that him still hanging around when Lauren was no longer a thing, I didn't really see a point. This is interesting because she outright says, I told him to stay away from Shannon's family to protect him, not to protect us. So now she's saying, screw Lauren and Shannon, screw all the other girls who were a part of this. Like, I did it to protect him. That fucking sucks because she was close with me, she was close with you, she was close with your family, she was close with victim number 3, all gave her a lot of things, support, love, and she just completely turned around and stabbed everyone in the back. And then is trying to say that she did it because I was no longer there anymore, so there's no need for him to be around, which I understand because she introduced all of us to Tyler, that maybe she felt some sort of sense of guilt and responsibility and was trying to maybe ease that by dodging it.
Yeah, by saying, I told him to stay away. And then all this stuff happened afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, basically her giving up a warning sign, a red flag, and him not listening, so, like, she can at least feel relieved that she had set her part and it still happened anyways, you know?
Right. Because there is that point, and, you know, we've talked about this, where maybe she had that thing of, like, well, I brought him around these people. I trusted him. He was my friend. And then he went and did this. That's on me. I had a misjudgment of character. Like, this is my fault. I don't know if she was feeling those ways at all, but maybe she was. And maybe she was trying to deflect.
But then the way that the negative light that she painted my parents in and things like that confuses this narrative, right? Like, it confuses that idea. It's interesting, her telling him to stay away. And she's saying that in this most recent piece of testimony that we just talked about, she's saying to protect him. She did it to protect him. Now, granted, this was before she knew that he had assaulted you, before she realized that he had assaulted victim number 3. This is before I was assaulted. But she was doing all of this to protect him, the person who ended up being a serial rapist. We share those 2 examples, not to give more context. I think it's always, you know, it's good for us to give you guys more context the more episodes that we release on our own stories, but truly just to show you that this was someone that my family was really close to, and someone who chose to paint the people that really cared about her in a negative light. Stella, early on, you know, chose to not be there for me in a time that I really needed her. And people do weird shit in this scenario. And it's really painful when you come to realize that this person that, like, you thought cared about you, and what, like, especially with Bailey, you know, she didn't need to maintain a relationship with my family. That's not the problem here. The problem is the way that she painted us when we cared about her.
Yeah, when, like, everything was on the line. And I know we always preach, you know, like, find that support system, talk to your friends, but it can be really hard because people do whack shit, or maybe they just don't want to care, or maybe they don't want to believe you. And then what the fuck do you do then? Yeah. When you feel like your support system, people you trusted, it's starting to crumble. How do you find those people? How do you find those people who want to give you that love and support and care and be there for you? And as silly as it sounds, we hope that this podcast can be some sort of support system for people to understand that there is a community out there who are all experiencing these things, and you don't need to be going through it alone. You don't need to be feeling these things in an isolated manner, and that can be really difficult. But I think that's just something to, like, hone in and understand. Even when you're feeling the lowest of lows, so fucking alone, maybe your friend really did stab you in the back when you tried to be vulnerable and have the courage to say something, and it fucking happened and it fucking sucks.
Yeah, it hurts.
And I promise you, though, you will find those people who will support you and make you feel courageous and make you feel strong and help you with that.
we know that this scenario might seem a little bit niche, but we hope you understood the overall picture. The overall picture of people might not always be there when you hope that they would be in a time that you really needed them. People might do fuck shit when they've never done fuck shit like that before. People might paint you in a bad light. People might screw you over in a testimony, you know, whatever. But the point of it, even though these were niche examples, I hope you understood the overall picture. And like Lauren was saying, we're really here for you. If you ever want to reach out, like maybe you have a super niche fucking story about a friend testifying weird stuff, or maybe you have an experience with a friend where you told them about your assault and they had a horrible reaction. If you want to share anything with us, go ahead and send us an email at whattheydontSay@gmail.com. We really do love hearing from you guys. It totally like makes our day when we get an email from you, because we're trying to create a community here, ladies and gentlemen. We're all in this together.
Or DM us.
Or DM us on Instagram. Yeah. Genuinely, like, it's really cool when you guys reach out.
Mm-hmm.
It feels cool. It feels like what we're doing is making a difference and like it's worth it.
With that being said, please rate, like, whatever the fuck you want to do with the podcast, because it definitely helps us. Yeah, follow us on Instagram or TikTok or
on Spotify.
Or
Apple Podcasts.
All the fucking platforms, okay? Because it's really encouraging to see that and to see that positive feedback. And it definitely helps us keep going even on the days that we feel like shit. Because sometimes we also feel like absolute fucking dog shit.
We're people too. Well, it's just like genuinely like getting feedback. Like we want feedback from you guys. So like rating us lets us know what you think. Responding to like the questions in the Spotify question area underneath the episode lets us know what you think, so we can improve and be better and create a better product for all of you.
Yeah, and more engagement and a better community.
And ultimately, we care about you. That's why we're asking for this. So
cool.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We love you so much, and we hope you have a great rest of your week. With that being said, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.